Today we are continue our series of our webinars that is aimed to increase quality and development performance on the front end. And the topic for today's webinar is fundamental moments of Backbone and ChaplinJS. Many of you might already well know this Backbone, so it is chance that current webinar won't be so useful for you, but it is important step before we will go further for the next webinar, which is will be with the topic of our front-end architecture. So we need to cover Backbone and Chaplin before going further. Nevertheless, I think second half of this webinar will be useful for all, and Chaplin with its useful features will be interesting for all. Okay, let's go. First, it's Backbone. Backbone, it's a library that provides useful components for building a web application. It provides basic elements such as model and view. Model allows to maintain some data and business logic. Model can communicate with server to load and save data. And model also emits events once data is changed. And view is aimed to reflect model data on a front end, on a user interface, and provide a way to user to interact with interface and update the data of model. So that's the basic principle of Backbone. To maintain a group of related models, there is collection, and collection allows us to handle several scope of models at once and handle add event to collection or remove event. Collection also can communicate with server and fetch data from server or save data. And user over the view can manipulate the data as well. The main point of Chaplin that the same data that is contained in model can be reflected on several views. So once the user interacts with one view and update the model, all view that is subscribed to model events will be updated simultaneously. So it preserves the same state. Besides collection, model, and view, there is also routing functionality that allows to build application and handle URL changes and notify view and models of URL changes. So these components, we are able to build powerful web application. Besides those components that I have described, there is also our events module that can be mixed to any object, and it will make able to bind or trigger events on that object. So we can trigger an event on an object with the help of trigger method, and subscribe to events with help of once or on method, or unsubscribe with the help of off method. Those methods are very useful when we want to add single handler for the event. And once we have two objects that implements events, better, it's highly recommended to use a listen to once, and stop listen in a method. It helps of maintaining event subscription. So once initial object is removed or disposed, it will remove all handlers that is stored inside the object. So it's hardly recommended to use listen to once over on and once method when you have two objects that implements Backbone events. Here you can see a cheat list of all events that is triggered by standard events that is triggered by Backbone components. So you can see that Backbone triggers add and remove events once model is added or removed from collection. Triggers update, reset, sort events once collection is changed in some way. Backbone model triggers change event or change for certain attribute. So you can subscribe if you need to listen to handle only one attribute change. You can subscribe to change of certain attribute. And if you want to handle model change in general, you can subscribe to change. Also, there is destroy and invalid events, and you can handle them as well. There are several common events for model and collections, requests, sync, and error. They happen when model or collection is communicated with server. And for router and history, there is also specific events, so we can also handle them once route is matched and so on. And one specific event name that we can handle, it's all. We can subscribe to all events at once for certain object for debug purpose or for proxying event. So, for example, you can see that all events that is triggered inside model is also retriggered on the collection. So, collection uses subscribe all events and then retrigger them on itself. Backbone also provides useful helper method called extend. It covers under the hood functionality that we discussed in previous session of our webinar of inheritance in JavaScript. So in extend method accept two arguments. It's proto properties and static properties, and we can create our own custom model or collection by using extend method and provide specific methods for our custom view or model collection. So let's review how it works. For example, we want to create our custom view and inherit it from a Backbone view. For that, we have to call extend method of Backbone.View and provide some static methods and properties. Provide first argument is object with prototype properties, and second is object with static properties and method. You see that second argument is object with one property counter. And what is prototype properties, we will check it a bit later. For now, it's only one initialize method, and we will check it inside a bit later. Let's look how it works inside the extend method. First, Backbone extend method will create a new constructor because we did not specify a custom constructor. It will create a new constructor, and this new constructor will do nothing except pass except invoke parent constructor. So it will call Backbone.View and pass all arguments that we pass into full view and apply it to this current context. After that, Backbone will merge all static properties into our new constructor. First, it will take all static properties of Backbone.View and then extend it with static properties that we have passed into extend method. This approach might be a bit controversial, but this is a way Backbone works. So, for my opinion, as for example in PHP, extend does not inherit static property of parent, but in Backbone they decided that they have to be inherited static properties from parent. Okay, go further. After that, Backbone will create a prototype for our new constructor. So full view prototype will be equal to object create of parent prototype. So new object will be created with magic property proto that will be referenced to Backbone.View prototype. After that, we have created full view prototype. So we create the prototype object. We will merge all prototype properties that we have passed into extend method. For our case, it is only one method, initialize. And here is a mistake. There have to be not response, there have to be function. Okay, and after that, Backbone creates a useful property super that allows us to invoke parent methods from the super. So super is referenced to parent prototype. So that allows us inside initialize method invoke initialize parent method. So we call full view super initialize and call with options and proper context. And to access static methods, we have to get into our constructor and call and invoke properties that is static. So in our case, it's a counter, and we increase that static method on 1. So once initialize method is invoked. So on the right side, you can see what steps Backbone does in order to create an extent of full. So on the left side, I think the code is a bit neat, and it's easier to read than on the right side. Okay, let's talk about a bit about Backbone model. Here is you see a typical use of Backbone model extend. So first we define what default arguments we would like to have. And after that, we can specify other properties and methods. For example, here you can see that we specify URL root. It's a URL which will be used to communicate with server. So on the basis of this URL, model will be saved, fetched, etc. And to validate the model or parse the response, or to fetch data from the model, we can also specify methods, related methods, but they all are defined in the model, Backbone model. Nevertheless, we can change this behavior to match our needs. This is about model extent. Let's see typical use of model. So, for example, we can create an instance of models. In our case, it is a book, and we provide to the constructor some objects that represent data of book, and this data will be stored inside the model. To get data from the model or set or update data inside the model, we can use getter setter methods of the model. And over those methods, if we use those methods, events will be triggered on data change. So other parts of application can handle them. Below you can see typical handling of event sync event, or there can be any other event, but you can see how we can handle sync event. So we first bind to a sync event, and after that call book save, and save will make to request to server with the new data, and once data is fetched from server, saved, Backbone will trigger sync event, and we can handle that event and see what the new ID of saved model is. The other way to use model is when we define only ID of model, and same way we can define sync event and invoke fetch method of model in order to load data from servers. So that ID will be added to our URL root, and data will be fetched from the server, and after that we can see what the title of that book is. Collection. Collection is, as we talked before, it's a container for a group of related models. So in order to create our own extent of collection, we need to specify what model we want to use, what constructor for models we want to use. If we don't specify it, Backbone model will be used as a base constructor for the model. So in our case, we create a collection library and say that all models of that collection have to be book model. Also, we specify URL for the collection library, and if we need, we also can specify parse method that will get the response from server and manipulate somehow to fetch data from the response. And if we need to, we can also specify to JSON method that will somehow manipulate data before returning them as the object, as the ordinary object. To create an instance of library, the same way you can use operator view and pass to the constructor array of objects, and all those objects will be wrapped into model instances. So for each of them will be created a separate book model, and we can manipulate them as models after that. Collection provides two ways to extend and reduce elements in collection. So first is add, so we can add to collection the item, we can add the object, and object will be wrapped into model, or can add model as ready item. So And to handle this change, we can subscribe to add event. And for remove, we also can subscribe to remove event and remove item from the collection over a remove method. So first we can find the element, item that you need to, and remove it from the collection. Backbone collection also borrows a lot of useful methods from underscore collection. So if you, I would recommend to look at the documentation. The documentation for Backbone, underscore, and Chaplin is well written, so I would recommend you to take a look and find a lot of useful stuff. Okay, go further. So there is some example. You can see other ways to work with collection. So the same way that we did with model, we can call method fetch of collection and specify options for fetch action. For example, you can see that we here fetch only a third page of books. So fetch data with some options. We can call reset method and reload, substitute all existing books in collection with some other list of items. They can be array of models, or they can be array of objects, and objects will be wrapped into models inside the collection. On the right side, you can see that URL property can be not only string, but it also can be a function. And we can, in dynamic way, define what URL have to be for the collection in order to fetch data from server. Backbone.View. It's, I think, for my opinion, it's the most interesting part of Backbone because it's widely used and so on. Okay, in Backbone.View, it's all about this element and its content. So Backbone.View describes certain element, DOM element on a page, and view is responsible of content of that element, and so view handles external events and update the own content, and also element handles all events are delegated to root element of the view, and on element is handled all view events. So let's look at it on a bit deeper. Typical definition of custom view. So we, same way, extend from Backbone view and create our own view. So first we define specific arguments, specific options for elements. So we say that our element have to be list item, and list item have to be with class name, with CSS class name, book item. So Backbone will create new element with node name Lee, and supply CSS class book name to it. After that, Backbone will subscribe DOM event on the element, subscribe to the DOM event on the element. So here you can see that we can, in declarative way, define what handlers have to be invoked once click event happened. And here you see that we handle not just click event on the list item. We handle click event on some selector. So events are binded to view element, but they related to certain target. So once click event is happening on button edit, we will invoke method open dialog. So and that method will do some stuff. And once we click on the button delete, we will destroy the view. So it's also pretty, I think it's understood. Okay, and if we want to handle some model events, we need inside initialize method subscribe to some method of model. And here you can see that we subscribe to the model on change event. And once change event happen on the model, we will re-render our view. So whole view will be updated. Will update its HTML. I would like to notice here some moments. First, I would like to show that we use listen to, not this model on and subscribe to event, but listen to. It will help us once book view get destroyed. We don't need to unsubscribe from the model. Book view will be unsubscribed automatically. And the second moment that I want to point that for Backbone view, we need to subscribe to events manually. So we need to define initialize method and make listen to and invoke listen to method with certain arguments. We will when we will talk about Chaplin.View, we will I will reference it to this point. But for now, we are done with this slide. Let's go further. Here you can see typical use of such Backbone.View item. So we create an instance of Backbone.View and provide the model of book. Once we have created an instance of Backbone of view, we have to invoke render method in order to update its content of element. And once the content is updated, we have to attach that element into DOM. And to attach, we have to find container, and after that, we have to append child manually. So a lot of stuff we still need to do manually in Backbone. The other way would be to, once we define a new instance, we can define an element at once. So we don't need to always define tag name and attach manually. The other way would be to pass element into initialize method, and after that the view will be in the DOM already. So once we create render, once we call render method, the view will update its content in the DOM. So we don't need to attach manually because we have passed the element to the constructor. Okay, we are ready to go to Chaplin. Chaplin Chaplin is based on the Backbone, but it extends the idea of Backbone, and it's also provides some new ideas. So Chaplin is more like application level library, and it's ready to build some application. From the difference of the Backbone that you see, this is a Chaplin.Application lifecycle, and from difference from Backbone, this beside model and view standard elements of Backbone, you see a lot of other components. So first of them, it's application. Application is the bootstrapper of all components, so it's entrance point. once we start our application, we create an application instance, and it will create layout, router, dispatcher, and composer. And after that, we'll start routing process. Router accepts a list of user-defined routes and match them to the action point. And once router match current URL to some route pattern and returns active action, dispatcher handles this event, and on a base of action point, it will load new controller and dispose old one, and pass action to the controller action, and will invoke controller action. Inside the controller, it's just controller action is just ordinary method that inside creates any instances of views and models that is related for certain mode. That is life cycle of application. So router matches URL, dispatchers loads controller and dispose previous one, and execute action method. As you see on the diagram, there is two other elements. It's layout and composer. Layout, it's top-level view that is stays on application all the time. It is not disposed on route action. Despite it is root view, main view, it is not inherited from Backbone. It's a separate view. Main role of layout is handling click on link events. So once we click on events, it will trigger a route action. And from the other side, you can see composer. Composer is storage for persist compositions, such called compositions. So there's some cases when we want to reuse some view that is on our application between navigation action, between controller dispose and create. Such example as header or footer in our application. They are stays the same despite what active route is. Okay, let's talk about a bit about each of them separately. First, here you can see how application starts. So basically, we require two elements. It's application constructor and list of rows. List of rows you see below, that is list with on the left side pattern of URL, and the right side it's controller and action method of controller. So login is name of controller, and show is the method of login controller. And application accepts some other options. So beside routes, it's also may accept some other options. Here you can see that we supply also controller suffix. So dispatcher will load a module with the name login controller in order to get controller on the page. Here you can see how typical controller looks. So we extend from Chaplin.Controller and create some custom controller. Above you see before action method, we will talk about it a bit later. And below you see action methods. So index method, it accepts parameters, and inside the method we create some collections and create view. It's current view for the controller, which will be used for the page. And also other action methods show it also do some update some view. So first we create a model, and then we use that model inside main view. What about use before action? This method is invoked by a dispatcher before action method is invoked. The goal is to do some check or prepare some environment for action. Here you can see that we inside before action we check if user is allowed to see the page. So we check if user is logged in, and if it's not logged in, we will redirect to login page. Other way to use before action, we can define composition. So the controller has a reuse method where we declare what composition we would like to use. All compositions are stored in composer. So we can have different controllers, and they might want to use header and footer. And if properties for the composition are the same, composer will reduce the view. So here you can see that we have two views, header and footer, but we don't create an instance manually. We just say to composer to reuse instances if they exist. If they're not, composer will create a new instance. Okay, Chaplin also introduced us main event bus as mediator. In our application, you will know the mediator that we used. It's also based on Chaplin.Mediator, but a bit extended. But it also has a bit extended. So basically, Chaplin borrows method of backbone events on, off, and trigger, and name them a bit different in order to comply with subscribe publish pattern. The other useful the other way that Chaplin provides us to use is the other pattern, request response strategy. So it allows us to declare a handler and execute handler from the other place of application. This approach allows us to decrease coupling between modules, so we don't know who exactly implements some certain handler, but we know that a handler exists and accessible over mediator. So it's pretty same as events, but only one handler have to be might be declared and have to be declared. Typical use for handlers you might see in our application, it's like mediator. Before applications start, we declare a service that is responsible to show messages. And in other places, we just require mediator and execute handler show messages, but we don't know who it implement, what module it implement, and it can be easily overwritten if some customizer want to show messages differently from base implementation. So it's some kind of container dependency injector container. So we can work with it. Okay, Chaplin put a lot of work of memory consumption, memory management, not consumption, but more memory management in application. So they are strict about how elements are created and how elements instances are disposed. So they introduced a new method, dispose, that is based on remove method of view and destroy method of model. This method unsubscribe all events, remove references to attributes of model, remove references to other elements, and so on. So if it's often that we don't need to create open dispose method because Chaplin do it quite well. But sometimes we need to declare open dispose method and extend from base one. Okay, Chaplin.View, it's also quite interesting part. Okay, to create to render some view on Backbone, we often need to do the same. So we need to define render function and render method. And the render method is typically looks the same. So first we need to define template function, then we have to template it with some data and get HTML, and after that we have to put HTML inside the element. So render function in most cases looks the same. So we have to define, basically we have to define two methods. It's template function and template data. And Chaplin is already done it. So in most cases we have to define only get template function, but we can also to do it automatically. So render method is in most cases in Chaplin we don't need to redefine the render method. And get template data is also defined in Chaplin, and it returns data from the model. So data is object fetched from the model, and in most cases we don't need to redefine it. But if we want to, if we have to, we can do it and extend base data with specific properties. Okay, that's how rendering of Chaplin.View works. Chaplin also introduced approach for subviews. So in Chaplin, we can easily maintain several child views inside of one of parent views. One parent view. So inside of Chaplin constructor has array of subviews and also has object of reference of hash object of subview name to view instance. And Chaplin provides two methods. First, it's get the resetter for subview, so we can get subview by name or can add a subview with certain name, remove subview by name, and inside dispose method, Chaplin will automatically dispose all subview once main view will be disposed. So this approach is also quite useful for complex solutions. In Backbone.View, if you remember, I pointed that inside initialize method we have to manually subscribe to model collections and other events. And we have to do it manually. So here you can see that we subscribe directly to the events of view, subscribe to the model, to collection, to mediator, and so on. Chaplin introduced an approach that allows us subscribe to event declaratively, so we don't need to put it inside initialize method. We can define it the same way as we do with events object. So we have to define listen object, and here we can define what event name and what method have to be executed once event is happened. So we can see that we can subscribe to the model in the key of object. We have change foo and say that this event is binded to the model, and the reset event is binded to the collection, and publish subscribe event binded to mediator. Event binding. So Backbone provide us way to bind events of DOM. But once we want to extend some custom view, we have to redefine this option of this property manually and take parent events and merge it with our events. So in order to preserve parent events handler. In Chaplin, we don't need to do it because it is done automatically by Chaplin. So we can define handlers only for foo, and once we extend bar from foo, we can define all handlers for bar. And both handlers will be executed once one or other events happen. So it's also quite useful. It's quite often then we need to store some options inside instance of view. For example, you can see that we store values of mode and state options inside instance. And also in Backbone we have to do it manually. Chaplin provides way to do it automatically. So here is related option names property that is array of names, option names that we want to preserve inside of instance of view. So we in this line you see that we take option name from a parent prototype and extend it with options that we want to preserve on our instance. Render flow of Chaplin of Backbone is also have several steps before we get our element inside DOM. So first we need to extend element. Second, we need to render it. After the render, we have to inject the element into the DOM in order to see it on a page. Chaplin provides a way to do it also automatically or declaratively. So it accepts options auto render that we can say that once instance is created, it has to be rendered. So the render method will be invoked inside constructor. After that, we can say that instance have to be attached to the DOM. And provide methods and container where the instance have to be attached. So we provide selector of container, it's book list, and define method which have to be used to add element into container. So we say it is prepend method, and once we create a book view, it will be rendered and attached to the DOM automatically by Chaplin. Chaplin also provides some interesting approach for naming some selectors. So we can create an instance and say that some selectors have aliases, and these pairs are named regions. So we can declare regions. We can declare regions over constructor options, and also we can declare regions inside initialize method programmatically. So we can register a region over a certain method, proper method. It is a useful functionality, but there is cons. So these regions are declared globally, so on a layout level. So we can use it for global things such as container, main page container, footer, header, sidebar, etc. But when we try to use it for some smaller parts, it might be crucial because of names collision. Also, those methods we can execute on mediator. So mediator provides handler for region manipulation. So we can register, unregister region, find region, and so on. Collection view. Also, there is no such thing on the backbone as collection view. But it is introduced by Chaplin. It provides a lot of useful things to work with collection. So here you see that we don't need to declare complex view. We just can instantiate standard Chaplin collection view and provide some declaration of options, and it will work from the box. So first we say that our collection is books, and after that we say that each item view of that collection have to be a book view. We say that all items have to be rendered. So once collection is changed, all items of all book inside collection books will be rendered by a book view. After that, we provide four selectors for some elements inside. First, it's a selector for whole list. Second, it's selector for item, and the two last ones, it loading selector and fallback. So they will be switched automatically once collection is fetched. Once collection change its state to syncing, user will see a loading element. So he will see loading mask. And once collection is fetched, user will see all items rendered by item view inside of list selector. And if collection is fetched as empty, user will see elements fallback element. So we don't need a program here. We just need to set up collection view, and it will work from the box. Also, there is useful thing, it's filter in collection view. So, for example, collection might contain two types of elements, and we want to show only certain type. For example, we want to show only books that is in stock. We can define a filter method inside collection view, and the user will see only those items, view items that is comply with filter method. So only those items that is in stock. The other useful thing in collection is filter callback. Let's extend our previous example with a bit more functionality. So we want to see, for example, we want to see all items, but those that is in stock, we want to see as highlighted. And those that is not in stock, we will see like in a gray shadow or something, or with opacity. So with filter callback, we can specify what class or what appearance have to be for certain items. So we get into filter callback two arguments: view item and is it included, or is it excluded, Boolean flag. And regarding on these arguments, we can update the element in a certain way. But it works with filter callback. It works only with the extend method. We cannot pass it as option into create. So here we have to extend Chaplin.View. Chaplin.Collection.View. Here you see the mistake. It has to be Chaplin.Collection.View. We have to extend Chaplin.Collection.View, and after that we can create an instance, our library view, and specify what collection it have to use. That's pretty it. Do you have questions? Question is empty. No question. I see one question. So some work done on React.js. So I wonder, is it a chance to once the merge? If merge. Yes, we still there are done some work on React.js, and the work done in scope of investigation and how the technology is fits our needs. But for now, we still use Backbone in Chaplin. I hope I have answered the question. Is there other questions? No. Okay. Thank you guys for attending the meeting. You will get video and slide shortly after the meeting. So have a nice day. Bye.